Undead Iron Fist has ended for my Iron Fist fans, because and yes, I do know Sorcerer Supreme and Ultimate Endgame both came out today, but I felt like making a video on Danny first, because that's my guy. So as last chapter we get to see him fighting the demon-possessed Luke Cage, so this is how we start this chapter, with Osiris monologuing while he fights Luke Cage and whatnot. So as they're tussling, he's talking about how he's off balance, fighting his friend, what you'd expect. Then, he hits him for a good little shot. He goes in for another shot, but then, he gets countered because Osiris basically says he's open when he goes for his punch, and he knows that, so he's taking advantage. So Luke Cage ends up sleeping him, knocking him out. And then Orson is just watching, and he's like, don't worry, he's got this, trust. So he gets brought to old Quan Yaozu, the big boss, the final villain of this little mini-series. And he gets waking up, and Quan basically goes on this whole villain monologue about how and why he came to power, and he's been sending his demons to kill all the other Iron Fists that came after him so he could steal their powers and this and that. And then he looks at Danny's arm, and he's like, man, you got the power of Osiris wrapped around you. He was like, did that bum god really think he can get you all the way to me to beat me? And Danny just like, well, he got me this far, didn't he? And then smacked him. So it looked like he was playing possum a little bit. So as he gets up, they start tussling back and forth. Then we get to see also that Danny brought him with himself a dragon. This dragon, I think her name was Tanlong, if I remember right. And she was like the guardian of the eighth city, or the guardian of the heavenly gate. I think that's what it was. And they killed her to get out of the eighth city, so she was also in the world. So Danny basically brought her spirit with him, talking about he made a promise, so she can get her revenge. So he's doing these like spirit dragon punches with her essence. So as Luke Cage comes back in, he hits Luke Cage with the dragon. So she knocks out the spirit. Then he hits Quan, puts some hands on him, knocks him out the window. As we see a bright glowing light, and the dragon, she chomps down on him. And then Daredevil, after all that, runs back inside, and he's like, you gotta stop this, Danny. And then Luke hears him because he gets unpossessed. So Luke is like, Danny. So Danny ends up back in Underworld because his mission is accomplished. He used up all his chi. So Luke is there looking, trying to unbury his grave. And then we get to see Danny chilling in Underworld because Osiris says he accomplished his task, what they bargained out for, so he can get some rest and peace until he's needed again. So he's just chilling there in the canyon with old dragon chick.